a miracle of modern science.
I just need a little time for myself.
Doug Kinney is about to get the one thing he needs more of.
Doug, your clone.
Himself.
So, what do I feed it?
Now,
Between the two of us, we're gonna get a lot of stuff done. We're gonna kick some ass. We're gonna be awesome.
there are two Dougs to go around.
I did the dishes, now drive the kids to school.
Thanks.
Two Dougs to share the load, but it's still not enough Dougs
I hate to ask you, honey, but could you pick up the kids?
to get the job done.
2. Like in me. 3.
Hi, how are you?
Are you nuts?
I've been working since I was 12 years old. It's break time. It is. And Doug, I think it's that 12-year-old that's saying, Doug, how about a visit?
And their problems are beginning to multiply.
Doug, I'd like you to read 4. Where did he come from? We made a copy from 2. And you know sometimes you make a copy of a copy, it's not quite as sharp as, well, the original.
This summer, it's every Doug for himself.
Jeez Louise, how many of you are there?
Is he safe with that razor? We take the blade out. It's cute, I think.
From the director of Groundhog Day, Michael Keaton,
Nobody has sex with my wife but me.
Andy McDowell,
When that woman wants something, Doug, there's no stopping her.
Multiplicity.
Hey, Rain Man. Run back in there and floss yourself, buddy, all right?
Hey everybody, welcome you to Watch This Podcast. I'm Alan,
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Devin.
and today we're talking about the 1996 film by Harold Ramis, Multiplicity, starring Michael Keaton and Andy McDowell. And Michael Keaton, and Michael Keaton, and Michael Keaton. This film is about a man who never has enough time for things he wants to do and is offered the opportunity to have himself duplicated. So, this is a film that I remember growing up with to a point. I would never saw the beginning of this film growing up. I would always catch it like after he's been cloned on like TBS. So I never really saw the cloning part of this movie until a few years ago. But this is a film Devin had never seen. But Ryan, you've seen this, right? What's your history with Multiplicity?
I hadn't seen this movie in like 23 years, and I'm 35, just to give you an idea of like when the last time I saw this. It was a movie that my mom or my dad enjoyed for like a few months when it was on TV a lot. So I remember seeing parts of it, but never the entire thing at once. The only scene that ever stood out to me was the scene where the wife is meeting all of the clones, not knowing that they're all the clones. So even as a kid, when I saw this, I got the joke that it was like they were all breaking rule number 1, and I understood the premise of that, so I thought that was funny. And that's really the only thing that ever stuck out to me in my mind about this movie growing up. So it was interesting to see the actual storyline and how everything happened.
Okay.
And then also discovering who else is in this movie that I really want to get to. So we'll get to that later.
This is one of those movies that I just happen to have a movie poster for.
I love that.
I replaced the Endgame poster for this week with Michael Keaton and Andy McDowell. But Endgame's going back up later. So,
Good.
Devin, since this was your introduction to Multiplicity, what did you think?
I loved the premise of this movie so much, and I love when this movie is delivering on its promise, right? Its promise is Michael Keaton clones himself to have more time. Every single time the movie veered into that, I loved it and thought this was a great movie and was a lot of fun and was actually genuinely funny. Every time Michael Keaton explored his character more, I really hated the movie. There's a point in this movie where he just lost me. Like and we'll get into it later, but there's a point where he starts talking and I go, I hate this character. I don't want good things for him. And then like, it was unrecoverable for me after that. Everything he had done from that point on was just, douchey for a lack of better term or word. But like, even after that point, I loved the clone hijinks. So like that part of it, so much fun. Some of it, man, was just so hard.
Okay, so you're talking about Michael Keaton Prime lost you.
Yeah, Michael Keaton Prime lost me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I know exactly what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I think so too. What I love about this film is there are a few different levels to Michael Keaton. You get like the dramatic Michael Keaton, and then you get the come on, let's get nuts Michael Keaton. And I
Yeah.
feel like this movie is mostly just come on, let's get nuts Michael Keaton. Or
Yeah, pretty
Beetlejuice
much.
Michael Keaton if you want. Like because he is so heightened even when it's just the regular what's the character name? Doug.
Yeah, I think it's Doug.
Yeah. When
I
it's
go
just-
with Steve personally.
Yeah. When it's just the original, even his reactions to what the clones are doing, or if he sees the clones where they're not supposed to be, is heightened. Like it's like more theatric. It's more stage theater than it would be for film. Like it's that level of exaggerated.
Well, and he does it even with a different persona. So like every time he's a different clone of himself, not only does like his reaction to the world around him change, but even like the way he holds himself changes. And like that part of it I really appreciated because you really like he's a good actor. Like he's a really good actor and he's showing that in this.
It baffles me that he does not have an Oscar yet.
Well, I mean, especially after Birdman, like if we're gonna go for like Oscar bait kind of stuff, like I think Birdman was his Oscar movie.
And I think we talked about this on our Birdman episode with Josh from Victims and Villains plug. Michael Keaton had his speech ready to go and like slid it in his pocket when he lost. Like
Really?
he was ready to go.
I think it's because, like, even though his performances have been good, I don't think he's done a movie with a storyline that's worthy of it, though. That's the problem. Like, he's a great actor, and he definitely deserves one, but I don't think any film he has done as a whole deserves it.
Well,
I'm trying to think.
that's because we never got Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian. So
Was that supposed to be the sequel?
that was supposed to be the sequel.
No.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I mean, okay, even though that's a great joke, and I appreciate it, do you think that, because that's how I feel, but I want to know from you guys if you think that's like a possibility, because just from Oscar, people who've won Oscars and the movies they're from, that kind of makes sense to me, but does that make sense to anybody else? Like the fact that, like, yeah, he's been great, but the films he's in as a whole, I don't really see them getting him there.
So I didn't know he was in Spotlight, and that won the Academy Award.
Yeah.
I don't
Okay.
know if he has a big part in it enough to have gotten him an Oscar, but
Okay.
if you two have ever seen Founder, I think Founder might be the closest to. I mean, unless I think either Birdman or Founder, really, because Birdman is kind of Oscar baity, where it's like Hollywood and it's like very like nice to the industry, but I don't know.
It's been a while since I've seen Spotlight.
Mm-hmm.
He does have a decent part in that. I think he could have gotten supporting actor for sure for that.
Gotcha.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just weird that Eddie Redmayne won that year that he was nominated for Birdman.
What did Eddie Redmayne win for?
The Theory of Everything, the Stephen Hawking movie.
Right, I keep forgetting he's in that. I don't know. I'm not a huge Eddie Redmayne fan, if I'm being honest. I like saw him in all the Fantastic Beasts movies and like don't love him in that.
I haven't
like,
even
I don't
seen
know.
him in that. I saw him in Les Mis, and that was it.
I mean, that's him.
I saw
Like
the
basically,
Theory of
that's him.
Everything.
Was it good? Was it worth it?
Yeah, I mean, he did an excellent job. I mean, he
Yeah.
really, really did. So, I mean, and to be honest, I would watch Theory of Everything before I'd watch Birdman again.
Interesting. I'm
perfectly
gonna have to
honest.
watch that movie. Yeah.
So, I mean, that, and I'm also like, I'm not as big on the whole Birdman/Batman satire as you guys were.
Sure.
So, I mean, that might have something to play in it too. But I mean, his performance in the Theory of Everything was really good.
Yeah.
So,
Just looking at the other nominees that year, it was Bradley Cooper for American Sniper, which I've never seen and have no desire to. Benedict Cumberbatch in The Intimidation Game.
That was
And-
good. I like that one.
ooh.
and Steve Carell in Foxcatcher, which was phenomenal. His
Was it really?
His transformation into that was amazing. Like his performance was phenomenal. The movie's okay,
Well, I heard it.
but he was good.
I heard it was more of a
love The
serious role for
Imitation
him.
Game.
Yeah, that one's good.
Yeah, the Foxcatcher. I need to watch that one. I didn't see
They filmed that around Pittsburgh. That's the only reason I really know about that one.
And it took place out near Philly.
Yeah, and one of my friends
Okay.
is a referee in one of the scenes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Referee?
plugging Johnny. Yeah.
Oh, Foxcatcher, that wrestling camp. That's why I didn't hear about it, because there was a documentary that came out, and then there was a movie that came out, and then it was like national news again because of those two things. So I think that's why I kind of forgot about the film, because I saw the documentary.
Okay.
That makes sense then.
So
All right, let's get back to Multiplicity.
Oh,
because
right.
We're far, like, we're talking about Steve Carell training wrestlers, and that's not anything to do with
Not quite the same thing.
Michael Keaton cloning himself. So let's talk about the clones a little bit, because each one has a different personality. So let's go through them and just talk about what we liked and what we didn't like about them. So Doug number 2 is the clone that Michael Keaton has go to work for him. Devin, what did you think of this clone?
I thought he was fine. I think that if the movie was going for like kind of every clone is a different aspect of his personality, I think this was an interesting aspect. This one was the aggressive workaholic one, because you definitely saw that in Michael Keaton Prime, especially when he was like taking his daughter to go like get her picture taken, and he's like, go get a photographer now. Like, he definitely has that side to him, and I thought it was interesting to have a clone that was strictly that side, and especially how that clone was treated. I think that was an interesting choice for that one.
Ryan, what did you think watching this again for the first time in 20-some years?
I agree with Devin. It was definitely. I was trying to remember if like the clones were like aspects of his personality, or if they were like, or if they had their own after they were created. But I feel like they definitely went with the whole with parts of his personality like were more of theirs. And I feel like his was fit to work. I mean, you could tell that Michael Keaton wanted to fire the concrete guy at the start of the movie, but because of his like family softer side, which we'll get to in the next clone, he didn't. He would always hold back, but the worker clone didn't have that, and he was like, "No, you're done. You were an hour late. Bye."
I'm glad you brought up the concrete guy. Devin's been messaging me that he's how many seasons into Schitt's Creek now?
I just started season 4.
So
I started like a week ago.
I scared him away from posting.
I'm not going to talk about it anymore.
So what did you think seeing 90s Eugene Levy show up in this after watching 4 seasons?
It was phenomenal. And also, there are some episodes of that show where I look at his son and I go, that's really his son? Really? But seeing 90s Eugene Levy made me go, oh yeah, definitely the same. He was, I loved him in this movie. It was phenomenal.
Eugene Levy in the 90s was that guy who would just show up and stuff randomly.
Yeah.
Because he does this. He shows up in the Father of the Bride movies, both of them
really?
as different characters.
Yeah, he does.
I didn't know that, and that's phenomenal.
And you got the Second City connection with Harold Ramis because they were both in Second City together.
Were they?
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. I didn't know that.
To the point where my wife was like, "Why wasn't Kathleen O'Hara in this?" I was like,
Yeah.
"I don't know."
She should have been.
She was just enjoying that Home Alone money. All right, let's move on to clone number 2. The more family-oriented clone. What did you guys think of him?
I really liked him. Given how they used him, though, and what his purpose was, you could definitely tell this movie's kind of aged a little bit, because the character was kind of coded a certain way, and I feel like that wouldn't fly today, just because of stereotyping.
I think that if they were, the only time I would have ever really had a problem with this one is if the theory of the clones wasn't that each clone was a different aspect of his personality, but that each clone was degrading his version of a personality. Like clone number 1, which was technically number 2, was like closest to him, then number 3 was farther, and number 4 was farthest. I think that if they were going for that thing, then I'm a little offended by clone number 3.
Yeah.
Clone number 2. Sorry, clone number 2. If they're going for that, then like, I don't know if I love that. Like, I don't know if that should be a degradation of a personality. But if it's just bringing out different parts of him, I think that it was an important one to bring out, considering one of the things that he needed was a family man.
Yeah.
And that it was just singularly focused on family man. And I liked that. And I also like the one joke where he was like, I made tuna sandwiches. And the guy was like, oh, I like that. He goes, I know, I'm you.
Yeah.
Like, I thought that was fun. Like, that's what you do with the clone thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it borders on homophobic to a point,
Almost, yes.
Yeah,
And I
almost.
didn't like that.
but it toes the line very well. Like I could see how it could be viewed as offensive, but I don't find it offensive. I think he's more feminine and more effeminate and brings out like a softer side of the character, which is fine. It's okay to make tuna sandwiches with
Right.
curry mayo, which I want to find a recipe for curry mayo now.
I want to try that too now.
You probably can just buy it at the grocery store in the UK, Devin, let's be honest.
Oh, I bet we can. We have Mayochup here, which is gross.
Mayochup?
What's
Mayo and
Mayochup?
ketchup together.
Oh, we have that in the States too.
Oh, really? Okay, well, it's gross wherever it is.
What do you mean gross? It's awesome.
What?
Yeah, it
No.
is. It is.
And the
pretty
best
great.
part about it is being able that everybody has their own recipe for it. Everybody puts different amounts in, so everybody has their own unique part of it. You can't hate on this until you find your own balance.
Yeah.
All right,
Soul
maybe
of
I'll
the
give it a shot.
balance.
Maybe I'm wrong.
So we're gonna sidebar this and talk about Mayochup for a second. Ryan,
Yes.
what is
Good.
what is your ratio for mayo and ketchup for Mayochup?
Honestly, it could be anywhere between a 45 to 55% split.
Okay.
It can be anywhere in between, almost even, maybe a little off. But as soon as it goes one way, it just starts to taste like one or the other. There's no like flavor mixing.
Okay. Yeah, I'm about the same way. Sometimes it depends on the mood and what I'm having. Like if it's a burger, I usually go a little bit more ketchup. If sometimes I'll do it on a hot dog, and I like to keep that 50-50. But Devin, fun fact, you add a little bit of like onion powder and some relish, secret sauce from a Big Mac.
Really?
Yep.
Huh. That's interesting. If my ketchup and mayonnaise have mixed to make mayo chip, it's happened on a burger under a bun, unbeknownst to me. What do you guys like? Are you guys like with a mortar and pestle in the kitchen, like must get 55%?
No.
Like that's what I'm picturing
It's
here.
just a visual thing. It's just okay. Plop plop. Spoon.
Yeah,
spoon.
Oh, so you're not like mixing
Squeeze,
it ahead,
squeeze.
like you're
No.
not like preparing the week's mayo chip or anything
No.
like that. Like
No.
No,
okay.
it's spontaneous at the moment. Devin, you're thinking
Okay,
way
this
too.
is-
You're thinking way too deep into this.
Listen, with how serious you were about your mayo chip, I thought you were like, need the proportions like a week before you were going to use it.
It's something that we're
was-
both passionate about, but we never get the chance to talk about. So thank you for
Exactly.
this opportunity.
I'm so glad I could do this for you guys.
And
I don't know what
it's like you were so knee jerk against it, like right off
Yeah.
the bat. So that's what
It
kind
just
of
sounds
spurred
so
everything
gross to
begin
me.
with.
Like if it mixes, like I've had mayonnaise and ketchup on the same things before. It's fine. I've never like needed a bottle of it like pre-mixed, I guess,
Yeah.
is my thing.
No, and that's the most normal of the Heinz mixed mayo things, because there's like mayo barbecue and mayo ranch and mayo mustard.
mayo
Ew.
curry. Like
See, that might be
we're
nice,
talking
though.
about.
Yeah.
Weird. Heinz, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I got
Making stuff that people like.
I got chunky. I got Heinz's chunky American sauce, which is just weird. It's neat. It tastes okay, but it's weird.
Okay, no. This is. If it wasn't for the fact that I didn't know that you didn't like to chew gum, this would be weird. Okay, but because I know you don't like to chew gum, this isn't really weird. It's just a quirk. You
Just
scoff.
a Devin thing.
You scoff at mayo and ketchup being mixed together, but you're like, oh, I bought a thing of chunky American sauce.
But like
Like,
it just-
really?
Think of the visual behind it. It just reminds you of like just chunky Americans in a bottle. Like I like that a lot. It's
Alan,
just funny to me.
I'm feeling your expression. I'm just vocalizing it.
I'm just trying to figure out what chunky American sauce is. Like, is it Soylent Green? Is it people? Like, what is it?
You know what?
If it is American people, is it just like 80% fat? Like, what is it exactly?
It seems like it's a little bit more like because I've eaten it. It's a little bit more like vinegary of a like Big Mac sauce. Like it's like if Brits tried to make a Big Mac sauce and they're like, okay, we know everyone loves vinegar. Step 1, vinegar. Then let's build a Big Mac sauce from there.
Okay, so it's like so it's like North Carolina Big Mac sauce.
With more relish than there should be. Like you could tell they're like chunks equal relish. Let's go.
So
Yeah.
it's somebody from North Carolina that goes to the New Jersey boardwalk to get vinegar fries and pours relish on the fries with the vinegar.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Just
So
so you
let's
guys,
talk about the third clone.
yeah, just so you guys
Speaking
know,
of.
I'm pulling this whole clip and putting it on Facebook for everyone to see. So
We
if you want
need
to see
to
the
have
rest of the
just this
episode,
part.
go to YouTube. Okay, let's talk about the third clone because I feel
Third
like we
clone.
need to talk about the third clone. Devin, it's been bugging me and my wife. What did you think of the third clone?
Oh, it's gonna be like horribly disappointing. I have like nothing really for the third clone. He was silly and fun. If it was showing that it was a degradation of the clones, neat, they nailed it. If it was showing his inner child as an entire personality, neat, they nailed it. I think that either way, I had no problem with the third clones. He was funny. He wanted chocolate cereal. I love it.
Ryan, what did you think?
Okay, so I my 90% of my opinion is I'm fine with it. I think that he's funny. I love the fact that he likes pizza, just his whole personality and throwing the pizzas like frisbees at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Perfect. There's a 10% of me that's like, with having dyslexia, I was in learning support classes and I knew kids like that. And I really didn't like the fact of it being used as a comedy trope.
Yeah, I was wondering if it was walking
So
that line.
There was a part of me that was kind of like rolling my eyes at it a little bit, but I knew what they were going for. I knew that there wasn't any harm intended. It was a copy of a copy of a clone. So my official thing is that I find it fine. It's just there's a little part of me in the back of my head from my own personal experience that makes it iffy. That's it.
Yeah, it definitely like the second clone. It toes the line without crossing it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same
Yeah.
way about that second clone. Like,
I like the idea
the same
that
balance.
it is his inner child kind of.
Mhm.
yeah.
But it's also a copy of a copy, and when you copy like anything, if it's a copy, it doesn't turn out right.
I mean, that's from the movie. Like that's what they say about him.
And
Yeah.
that's why I never like copy a copy in like a copier because
Right.
of this movie. Like it's one of those things where it's just like a copy of a copy doesn't turn out right. Remember Michael Keaton. Like that's a life lesson that I took at 10 years old from this movie is
Yeah.
Good.
Same here. Like I said before, like the wife running into all of the clones that night, like that stuck in my mind growing up, and so did that. The whole like copy of a copy never turns out right.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, life lesson for two people here. Like,
Well, what I think I liked about that one is they didn't ever like put a fine point on either of the two potentially problematic clones. Like none of them ever came out and like said how they were coded in any way. They just kind of played them for who they were and what they were, and I think that made them okay for me.
yeah.
yeah. So, what did you think of Andy McDowell's character? Let's take a break from Michael Keaton and all the Michael Keatons and talk about his wife Andy McDowell. What did you think of her dynamic with Michael Keaton?
I hated it. I hated it so much. This is the part of the movie that almost lost me. I like Andy McDowell a lot. I like her character in this one. I don't like how the movie looks at her character. Because I like the whole, I'm a busy mom, but I really have a passion for work. I want to work. I love that. Good on her, good on you movie. I hated Michael Keaton's response to her every time she got brought up. Every time.
The main Michael Keaton, not the clones or any of them. Like, I'm just trying to figure out.
I think all of them. I think all of them for different reasons. But like every time the plot tried to involve her, I was like, "Oh, movie, stop!"
Yeah, I mean, I liked her I liked the way they used her in this movie because she is like a strong woman.
Yes,
What
and I like
didn't,
that.
What I didn't like was the dinner scene at the restaurant where Michael Keaton's like, "I need you to quit your job because this isn't working for me." Like,
Yep.
fuck you, dude. Like, no.
Yeah.
And
That
I
was
looked at-
exactly where I lost him.
I looked at my wife and I was like, "What would you do if I said that to you?" She's like, "Oh, you'd be gone like so fast." Like, yeah, that's what
That
I
was
thought.
it. I mean, and especially how he described it. Like at one point, he was like, "Well, you have that extra chromosome that I don't have, and you have." And I'm like, "So what are you trying to say? Like, stop it!" Like at that point, it was too misogynist for me to the point where I'm like, "I don't want you to have anything good, and I want her to leave you right now."
I think the movie does a good job of showing that he is so caught up in himself that he doesn't understand what's going on around him. Like he's just focusing on, I want to go play golf. I want to sail. I want to bungee jump. I want. Not focusing on his family at all. Like he loses track of everything that is important to him because he says it's important to him, but he gets so focused on, I'm going to take a break for myself and let me do me for a bit, that he loses track of everything else.
And I mean, his beliefs on what he was saying had to have been there for him to go that route during that conversation. And I feel that this is just a result of it being made in the mid-90s with attitudes and just figuring that, oh, a guy in this kind of line of work, this situation, of course he's going to say something like this. And I feel like that's why that conversation was in there, because it was the mid-90s. He was a construction worker, and this is what the writers believed somebody like that would have thought or done. And I feel like that's where that's where that's coming from. And it's a depiction that I didn't find not entirely believable. I kind of believed that that's where he was going to be going, and that's where he went. And he had to spend, 3 days on a sailboat puking his guts out to realize he was wrong. So, I mean,
yeah. And here's what rubbed me the wrong way about all of it, I think, is because I know somebody exactly like that. Actually, I know several somebodies exactly like that, where they work in construction, and they have that attitude towards women, and they just are, like, very much that kind of very self-absorbed, like, very self-centric person. And I really don't like these people in a huge way. And I think Michael Keaton reminded me of at least one of those people so very much that I was just like, yep, fuck this guy. Like, I don't know. I think at that point I was very unhappy with him because he reminded me of that person I don't like. Which, good writing, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it is. And it's one thing to also remember, too, that, like, this is a stereotype that the writers put in. So, I mean, I know plenty of people who are in that line of work who are more of Clone 2 or Clone 3, the family-oriented one.
The family one.
I know guys who can build a house and have the demeanor of the family clone. Mm-hmm. So it's really on the individual about that.
Yeah.
It's just, I found it interesting that that's the direction they went with him and the stereotype that they decided to, like, come out with. I mean, it worked because at the end of the movie, he rebuilds the house. So, I mean, they needed that to happen for her to be like, oh, yeah, no, there's something I want to get to at the very end that still annoys me.
I want to talk about the ending at some point, too. But I think one of the things the dinner scene does for me is it shows me how just tonally inconsistent they wrote Andie MacDowell's character. Because if you look at that scene from her perspective, the husband was just being a jerk. Like, he was being terrible to you, said you should quit your job, was just being like, you're a woman, your place is the kitchen, essentially. Then, like, a second later, he's like, let's make out inappropriately in this booth. And she's like, nah, I'm going along with it. Like, I would still be mad. Like, if Romana was like, Devin, you need to, I don't know, insert male stereotype here, or we're breaking up, I'd be like, no. And then I wouldn't want to make out with her a second later.
Yeah, and that's where the stereotype for her, again with him, mid-90s, her, mid-90s, like it's the whole thing of like, well, he's a man, you just got to let him vent. He's going to say stupid things, but don't leave him because of it. Like, that's where that's coming from. that's how I saw the character being written. That she was as much of a stereotype as a mid-90s woman as he was a mid-90s male.
Okay. I can see that.
You think that? Because I mean, it does lean in a bit to like the 90s era stereotypes, because it's especially in TV shows where you get like, oh, I'm a dumb brooding husband married to this inexplicably attractive woman. And like that happened all the time. Yeah, or like most of those. And like that was just kind of how men were written, is like they're just dumb and the women have to be the sensible ones. And like I don't love that.
I'm glad I went with Home Improvement as that reference, because then I was just like, Roseanne. Like, nope. No. Nope. Don't see that one.
No.
I could see like
It's a realistic couple.
Any other sitcom, not Roseanne.
John Goodman still deserves better though. My boy.
John Goodman's the attractive one of that relationship.
Oh, absolutely he is.
He's a good man.
He is a good good.
Night, everybody.
Good. We're done.
Recorded
Yeah.
in front of a live studio audience of one.
Yeah. She almost got headphones to listen to this because she was curious to hear your guys' thoughts.
Aw.
But no,
All right,
I told her she has to listen to the actual show or watch it on YouTube.
Good. So that actually brings up one other problem I had with the movie, and that's the scene that Ryan remembered.
Okay, let's talk about this scene. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I want to hear Ryan go first.
I want to make sure that we're talking about the same thing. I'm talking about the very last sequence, the very last scene, where they drive up in the SS Impala.
No. This is before that.
No, Devin's talking
Go ahead.
about the scene where they all break rule number 1.
All of them.
Really? I thought that was funny. I thought that was hysterical.
I don't know if I like that a whole plot point was who gets to have sex with the wife. Like, I don't know if I like what that does to her as a character.
But honestly, though, it's a topic. You have a husband who clones himself and hides that fact from his wife. They're living on the property. There's got to be groundwork there. And there's the possibility that could go wrong, especially when you're trying to hide this fact. And it's dark, it's disgusting, it's scary. It brings up a lot of negative thoughts for a lot of people. But it's still a topic.
So it does two things for me. It shows me that she's in love with her husband.
Okay.
And infatuated with him to the point where she doesn't even notice that it's 3 different guys.
Right. Incredibly different personalities.
So and it also shows that, like, the other thing that scene drives, and they do a good job with number 2 throughout the film, is up until he got cloned, they were the same person. They have all the same memories, all the same feelings. They all loved her. They all married her. And now they don't have her in their life. So they all have feelings for her, but they've all respected the Michael Keaton Prime's rule of keep your space. She's mine, which is a weird stance to take because it's like claiming her as property, and it's weird.
Yeah. Well, I think that was part of it. But honestly, I think I could have had a whole movie about the ethics behind a clone of yourself dating somebody else. Like when Michael Keaton, number 2, shows up to dinner with the secretary from work. Like, I loved the physical comedy in the dinner scene a lot. But like, he showed up and I was like, how dare he? And I went, wait a minute. I mean, I guess he's allowed to, right? And like, that was so fascinating for me. Yeah.
There's a whole ethical conversation we can have, and are going to, about cloning.
Good.
Good, because I really want to get to that.
Let's get to that now. Like, why not?
Okay.
So, I believe that if I were to clone myself, and there's be another me here right now, I am me. That clone is somebody completely different. They may have my memories. They may have my looks. They are not me. They can live their own life as long as it doesn't interfere drastically with mine. That's my take on it. Like I feel like they can do what they want. Like they're their own life.
Okay. I take okay. I like that. I like that a lot. There's a big part of me that would like to think that clone of me would want to do kind of what I'm doing. Like if I am in, high-powered construction job, and clearly Michael Keaton has a passion for it, I'd like to think that clone of me has the same passion as well. I would want to kind of balance out, who's doing the work when. You know what I mean? Like, hey, you go in Monday, Wednesdays, I'll go in Thursday, Fridays, like something like that. Like I would want to, apparently I take Tuesdays off in this scenario. I would want something like that to happen, like until one of us hated it, I think. But I like what you said where like you have your own, kind of your own life, or it has its own life. I like that a lot. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think Michael Keaton would have avoided a lot of the issues that he had in this movie if he went about it the way you just described, like alternating days.
Right.
Instead of you just go do my job and then I end up getting fired from it. Like I feel like he would have avoided a lot of issues if they just alternated instead of the whole selfish thing of this is my life now. Like you work, I don't. So
I think it would have been funny if they just would have said, "Hey, look, this is my twin brother that I never knew about."
Well, okay, so that brought up something too, because the whole time I was like, "Oh my gosh, I don't want anyone to see them together," and I was like, "But twins are a thing. Mm-hmm. Like that could just be a twin
and triplets,
and triplet, right?"
Hell, you
but
go
I don't know.
all the way up to like quints, I think.
I think you're right.
So, Alan, you said you clone yourself. Your clone is their own individual, actual person. They have the same rights as everybody else. There's no thing there. Right. Devon, you believe the same way. It's just you would hope that clone would want to help you out because that's what you would want to do.
Exactly. Like I'd help him out. Like I'd want him to help me out.
I believe the same way Alan does, but I really want to play devil's advocate here because I really want a real discussion about cloning.
No, do it.
So,
I'm excited.
Okay. There is the idea that so we're all natural birth. Okay. Mm-hmm. Natural birth, way nature intended. A clone is not. A clone is technically property and is yours to do with what you want with, which is what the premise of The Island. Regardless if you like the movie or not, that's what the premise of The Island is. Basically, organ harvesting. For anybody who hadn't seen the movie, I just spoiled it for you. Don't watch it. You don't need to.
No, it's a great movie. Watch it. Dang it.
Logan's Run is better. Anyway, so that's the devil. That's the devil's advocate part of it. They're not natural birth. They are created in a lab from your own DNA. You're choosing to have them made for a certain purpose, meaning you can change their genetics to have rational thought or not. So in that case, if you were to clone yourself and make a drone mentally, should they have the normal rights as anybody else, knowing that they could not survive on their own?
That's interesting. And the thing is, the movie kind of skirts a lot of what would make that important for me, I think. Because, so if we're doing The Island, for example, The Island clones were made as a business transaction. Somebody paid a lot of money for these things, these clones, who, I mean, they ended up evolving sentience, which I think was like bad move on the company in The Island. But like they ended up making or paying money for it, and it was a business transaction. This one wasn't, I think. This one was more like, hey, here's just a version of you. And I think it was a smart move by the movie to to show the end of the procedure and him waking up as number 2. Because it showed you like, hey, this is really a difficult, like he's him. Like this is a kind of a morally gray issue. And this isn't just a strictly property thing. I think that if I was given a clone that was just a drone and was just like, literally could not survive without me, like, I don't know, attaching like a plug in the back of it or something like that. I think if it was something like that and it just like happened to look like me, I think that I would make it do more of my work more often. I think that I don't think I'd make it live its own life if it was literally dependent on me to decide what it was doing. But I think that if it was an autonomous, like, it likes pizza the same way I like pizza, or, it'll order nachos from Denny's for some reason, just like I will. Like, I think that I would want it to go do that.
Denny's has nachos?
Yeah, and you know what? They're great. Don't you judge. They're phenomenal.
We don't have a Denny's anymore. Ours shut down, so.
Well, you're missing out on some great nachos, guys.
All right. Honey, we're going to Denny's.
Yeah, well, would you do that, Alan, or would that still be like its own person for you if it literally depended on you?
If it was solely dependent on me to survive, I don't think I'd go through with it.
Oh, yeah?
I was about to ask
Yeah.
if you would even do it. Yeah.
Well,
If
I
it
mean,
can be,
here's the
if
thing.
it can be autonomous and be like survive on its own and do its own thing, then yeah, sure. But I don't need to be plugging myself into somebody else because I don't even want to try to figure out how that's gonna work.
But like,
Okay,
hey, like
so-
you own
yeah.
like you own a toaster, Alan, like, and that's dependent on you to survive. Like
The
a toaster
only
won't
difference-
toast without you.
The only difference is that it's biomechanical because it's all bio. It's no mechanic. You know, it's flesh. It's blood. It's designed to be a clone of you. Now, granted, I am taking liberties with this because it's not like you're messing with genetics, and I'm completely changing the question a little bit in this, but still, it's one of those things that I know that there are people out there that see, no, if I get myself cloned, that's something that's made in a lab that I wanted, that I purchased. I'm doing with it what I want.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of shows that have taken that and really, have really tried to get into that question and get it answered. And to be perfectly honest, there's not. And that's why the U.S., at least, has a federal law against human cloning. Because I really wanted to look this stuff up last night after I watched the movie. I just never had time to actually finish it. Like, I was bringing up, the sheep that got cloned in the 90s
that's right.
that, made all the news. And,
Dolly, yeah.
how, and when was it President Clinton at the time actually had the press conference saying that it was like, this is an issue that might actually happen. We need to stop this. And then there was a law passed that they would ban human cloning in the late 90s. And when you really think about that, in the late 90s, there was the possibility of cloning a human in the late 90s. It is now 20 years past that.
That's true. We can have real clones.
Somewhere in some country, there are human clones. I guarantee it.
That's terrifying.
China, Russia, somewhere in Africa, South America, Australia, New Zealand. New Zealand is cloning people.
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some in the States.
Me neither.
Just underground cloning thing. Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is towing conspiracy theory for me now. I don't know how I feel about it.
We have the technology. We really do.
So let me ask about personal taste then. Let's say that there are clones. Let's say that they say that they're clones, and it's like, okay, we could just do this now. Would, if it became available, was affordable, money wasn't an object, would either of you clone yourself?
No.
So are we talking about in the movie style cloning? Where
Yeah, we're it's just it's a 10-minute procedure. You wake up in a hospital gown in some weird doctor's house, and then it's it. You're just done.
And there's a one-for-one copy of myself.
Yeah, at current age with current memories, I think that's, we got to go by multiplicity rules. It's just clone.
Yeah, I think I would.
Yeah?
I've got board games I want to play that my wife doesn't want to play with me all the time. So. But if it was the way I understand cloning to actually work, in theory, it's just an embryo that grows into
a human.
A human, yeah.
That
Probably
thing
not.
grows into you.
Probably not.
Yeah. I think that
there doesn't need to be another little Alan running around.
I knew what I was like in middle and high school, and I don't want that to happen to anyone else again. We're done with that.
It's because you don't have a you to help it through that process.
The only way this is what I would do if I did do that, though. I would let it go, let it do its own thing, and then in high school, I'd probably go to I'm you from the future.
Oh my god. You have to, though.
In that world, so many people would be doing that, though. I mean, there'd be Facebook groups dedicated to it. I'm going to make a clone and say I'm from the future. And
punk it later.
Yeah, and it'd be from the future punk day at high school. It'd be part of Spirit Week. It'd be part of Spirit Week.
Your clone will have just watched the movie Looper. It'll know exactly how to handle you.
Oh
Oh
God.
God.
No.
Oh man.
I got
But
dark.
yeah, so-
That's my bad.
But I mean, when it comes to cloning, oh great, you might hear some noise. My cat's chasing a fly in here.
Aw.
I like the idea of cloning from the Keanu Reeves movie that came out this past year. There was a movie on Netflix with Keanu Reeves, and he plays a scientist who's doing like cloning type stuff, and I really like that idea of cloning.
What was it? I haven't seen it.
I don't remember the name of it though.
It's going to be Bill and Ted 3 in my head until someone proves me wrong.
It's not. Believe me, it's not. And it's actually
give me a
kind
sec.
of decent.
Just talk about the concept, and I'll look it
Yeah,
up.
so what is it, though?
Okay, so it's this idea of like trying to get human consciousness in a mechanical brain
Okay.
to like take survivors from war who have been completely mangled and transfer their consciousness into a robot so they can live their life.
Okay.
And something happens bad, and Keanu like flips out and he tries to reclone his whole family.
Okay, I think I found it. Was it Between Two Ferns the movie?
I love that movie, by the way.
No,
looking up the name.
it's a movie called Replicas.
Thank you.
Replicas.
Yeah.
Between Two Ferns when it comes to the screen.
So,
I mean, I was
okay.
gonna say Toy Story 4, but
I would have actually laughed at that. I would have actually.
I love Between Two Ferns, the movie. So in that case,
Irritates me.
in that case, then, is the clone without? So are they going into like just different versions of themselves with empty heads, and then they like are filling their consciousness with
Do you
themselves?
guys care about the film? Do you guys care about it?
Spoil away, please.
Okay, so he plays a doctor. They're in Hawaii. He's trying to help service members who have been mangled and transferring their consciousness into like a robot body. It fails a couple times, and it's really horrific because like the robots gain like semi-consciousness, and then they just start to rip themselves apart because they don't because the brain doesn't realize, like the brain knows that there's something wrong, so it tries to rip itself out of its like container. Like that's what they're realizing. So it's really horrific. Like it's you know, but then he's on a vacation. They're in a car accident. His family drowns. Little daughter, older son and wife. So he gets in touch with his team, and they get these cloning tanks. But there's only 3, not 4. I mean, he has 2 daughters and a son and the wife, and there's only 3 cloning tanks, not 4. And he's trying to cover what he's doing by cloning his family in the garage, except he has to choose what child not to clone. So he tries to erase that child's memory from the family by getting into their consciousness and erasing those memories.
Wow.
But as they're like in their clone bodies, they're starting to realize that there's something missing in their life, and he has to deal with the fallout, and the government gets involved, and they want to hijack his experiments. It's actually kind of good, to be perfectly honest. It's not great, but if you're a fan of Keanu Reeves
And Sophie's Choice.
you might enjoy it. Sophie's Choice?
Oh yeah, it's a sad movie.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah,
yeah.
if you're interested in that, the movie's called Replicas. It came out in 2019.
2019.
Yeah.
I do want to watch that though. It looks good.
IMDb has
Sounds
it as
good.
2018, so I feel like it's one that premiered in like December and then at a film
They made it
fest.
over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in that case, the bodies that they put the family in, are they strictly robots or are they like biological things?
Bio grown in a tank. Like, legitly from their DNA.
And you said you'd be more okay with this.
I would be more okay with that version of cloning, given the tech, and because there's a ton of gray area in this, but I find it fascinating. Where like there are these like really cool LED lit up like floppy disk things that like the consciousness is like downloaded on, and Keanu Reeves can like download it, and it's got the whole Minority Report computer setup where he takes like gloves and goes like this. And like all of the stuff shows up in the air, and like he can like map out like where the memories are and like delete stuff. So when he's making his clone, he can decide what part of his life he wants his clone to remember and what parts of his life he doesn't want his clone to remember.
That's interesting. Yeah, I really think that like for me, that one would almost be more problematic because it feels like if I were to grow a fully functioning version of myself and just implant my consciousness in it, that thing that was before my consciousness in it is a thing in and of itself, and I'm just taking over that thing.
Yeah, you run the risk of, like, if I were to go back and delete meeting Devon in high school, that would cause a ripple effect throughout the rest of my personality growing up and like doing this show and all of this. Like, you take away an experience, a person from your memory, you don't get the same outlook that you get in your copy. Like, you change one thing, it changes everything else. So
that's what the movie tackles.
It's a slippery slope, and I would avoid that.
I kind of want to watch that movie now, though.
And that's what the movie kind of tackles in a few scenes.
Yeah,
like I said, if you like Keanu Reeves, you like the concept, it's good. But
I've got one more thing on the ethics of cloning before we move on. We're all Star Wars fans.
Yes.
I think it's non-toxic Star Wars fans.
We're the good kind.
If you were to have
Oh.
a clone and you were able to program one execute order 66 without killing Jedi, what would be the one thing that you can just say something to your clone and they would automatically do it? What would you have your clone do?
This is one of those questions I would have wanted a heads up on, so I could actually.
No. But I like this question a lot.
So
okay.
So it would be, because I basically do this anyway. It would be me go. The trigger phrase would be Devon, do that Devon thing. Would be the trigger phrase, because that's actually something that people have told me in the past. Real me does a diving forward barrel roll, and I have to when people tell me to do that. I think the clone version of me would just, oh my gosh, what would he do? He would go to work for me. That would be it. I'd do that, and he would just go to work for me right away.
Devon, I don't know if you realize this, but we're doing video for the podcast now. So Devon, do the Devon thing.
He has headphones on, for crying out loud. Oh God, the headphones.
I did it.
Off.
I did it.
We couldn't see it.
Yeah, I can't. The
your-
camera's right here.
Yeah, he's not going to adjust the camera.
Okay.
He said you say it. He does.
Okay, do me a
does the roll.
favor. When
Yes.
we're done with this, film yourself doing it. I will cut it in there, and we'll.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. I think mine would be. I'm trying to think what the order would be, but I definitely I have to do something. It'd be something stupid and pointless. Walking into the kitchen and opening up the fridge door, staring into it for 3 seconds, and then closing it and walking away. And
That's my life, Ryan.
And it would be order T7, because that's what I get at Taco Bell.
You get a T. What's a T7 at Taco Bell?
The Crunchwrap.
Good choice.
That is, I always get a Crunchwrap. Always.
Good.
This is a weird
Crunchwrap with the. Yeah.
This is a weird sidebar.
Sorry.
I had a dream about Taco Bell last night that they ruined their whole menu, and it was horrible.
Why?
I don't know.
What'd
They
they
just
do?
they just changed everything. They took good stuff off of it. You couldn't get a chalupa anymore. It was all just like
I knew this is where we were going. Yeah, no. See, they kept the Nacho Grande. They kept the Crunchwrap. They kept the quesadilla.
Not in his dream.
That's all they
No,
need.
no.
That's all they need. They
in
just
my
need 3 things on the
dream,
menu.
I was given a tortilla wrapped around a can of refried beans, and it was horrible.
Guys, are we hungry? All of our asides are about food today.
I didn't get breakfast yet.
We need to eat something.
Yeah. For me, it would probably be go cook dinner. That would be what I had my clone do, because I
You
like
just have
cooking.
him cook dinner. Yeah.
And like by the time I'm done cooking, most of the time I don't want to eat what I just cooked.
Yep.
So if I could have myself cook something for me and then just enjoy it, like hell yeah, like that's the life I want to live.
I like that.
Food. Now I know exactly what it is. We always have some flavor of breakfast burrito in the freezer, whether it be bacon or sausage, whatever. We always have it. It's like a staple. That would be my order to the clone.
Have it make you a breakfast burrito.
Have it make itself and me, so 2, breakfast burritos, and it would still be order T7.
I love it.
I've also started to get into cosplays, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm not great at fabric stuff, so I would probably make it so.
I
But
like
then it
that.
wouldn't be
Speaking
great
of
at
Star
fabric stuff
Trek,
either.
Speaking of Star Trek,
Oh,
Ryan,
yes,
did you
please
recognize-
get back into the movie?
yes, Ryan, did you recognize anyone from this movie?
Now I know why Q was a dick to humanity. It's because he had to deal with Michael Keaton clones. Because he had to tell.
So
That was Q?
that was cute.
That was Q.
Oh, no shit. Oh.
no,
his,
all the
the
shit,
one that-
all the shit in
Yeah.
that porta potty.
Yeah. Yes. That's Q. That's
Weird.
Q.
Okay.
Yeah. So, looking at the movie, I feel like there was more with him that just got cut out.
Oh yeah.
It really feels like it.
I'm gonna
I
have to
feel
look.
like that was a running joke. I really feel that was supposed to be a running joke in the film.
I really want to read the screenplay and see what else they had with him. But yeah, I wanted to make a start. I wanted to get us back to that.
Good.
So, I made that exact statement in a Star Trek meme group last night when I was watching the film. I went in and I said, "Hey, I know why Q was a dick to humanity," and I
Yeah.
said that, and I had like 3 people comment, "Somebody just watched Multiplicity."
That's fantastic.
And then you link them to our podcast. Got it. So hold on. Before we end here, I want to know what Ryan's problem with the ending was.
Yeah.
Okay, so I really thought it was dumb, like throughout the entire movie, because like I said, I only seen this in pieces. I never saw the entire thing in it, like because when I was a kid, I thought it was dumb. Like it was like, oh, it's a stupid adult romantic comedy. I'm done with this. And so at the very end, like I was waiting for like the reveal, be like, hey, the reason why things have been so screwy is because I did this. Sorry. And then,
Yeah.
like she goes, oh, this is why everything happened. But hey, we redid the house for you because we all love you and we're all going away because I remembered the scene with them all in the SS Impala driving away. So I knew that they left at some point, but I thought that they like revealed themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I really hate the fact that they never did because that's a really big skeleton in the closet to keep. But I hated when she was like, when you really love someone, you see them everywhere. And I'm like, really? That's how you're doing that reveal? Like, that's dumb. I mean, look, it doesn't take away from the film. It's still funny. It's a funny scene because, Clone 3 technically is like scooching down in the seat because, he's realizing, but at the same time, I'm like, I really wanted her to know, like her to find out.
Yeah, I feel like Michael Keaton is going to be dealing with the ramifications of everything his clones did for years to come. And I feel like the easiest way out of that with his wife is just like, hey, listen, this is what happened.
Yeah.
I cloned myself twice, and then they cloned one of them. So there were 4 of me at one point.
What he should have done was
any
like,
weird shit that happened in the last 2 months, that's on them. I am sorry. But we're moving forward. They're out of the picture now.
I thought up of a way that I would be okay with it. People might hate this idea, but
I'm ready.
I like it because I thought of it. He takes her to the house, shows her that they did the remodel. He says, yeah, I got a few of the guys or boys to help me. And he goes, in fact, do you want to meet them? They're across town. And they get the car. He drives to where the cloning facility is. He's already talked to the doctor. They go into the office, the room. She meets them. She has her feigning moment. She wakes up. She doesn't believe it, so they clone her. And then the hijinks ensue with one of the clones falling in love with her personality clone, like they did
The
with
clone
him.
of her.
And then the clone of her. And then they have like the Impala SS driving away with Michael Keaton clone 2 and 3 in the front, and then her clone 2 and 3 in the back seat.
I think that would be funny. I think that if they were setting up a sequel, I think that that's how they would have ended it. It seems like that kind of a movie.
And you know what? As I was thinking about it before I said it, I was like, this, might open up for a Multiplicity 2, but I'm not exactly sure if that would be anything I'd want to watch. To be honest.
Well, real quick, we haven't really touched on this at all. The technology of this movie for
Yes.
1994 they filmed this in '95. Michael Keaton does a great job of interacting with himself because they had to film all of that separately.
The high five.
The high five
alone was amazing.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of use of body doubles.
Oh,
So,
yes.
that's kind of obvious.
But there is a scene according to IMDb, the scene where he tosses himself the beer.
Yeah.
They did it twice, once with a body double, and then on the second toss, the beer can was supposed to be removed, like replaced digitally, and they were gonna fix it in post, but the throw matched perfectly. They just left it in.
Weird. That's
Yeah.
really cool.
So Michael Keaton, they called it the $1 Million Miracle Beer Can Toss
I
because they
really
didn't have
like
to
that.
go back and fix it.
Yeah.
Do you know what really impressed me about the movie, actually? The one scene where he was talking to himself in the bathroom, where you saw him facing the camera, the back of his clone's head, but then the reflection of his clone in the mirror. I thought that was really cool. Like,
Yeah.
technology-wise.
I mean, Devon and I have some experience acting with ourselves.
Yeah.
It's fun, isn't it?
It is. It's so fun.
It's interesting. Could you imagine doing a whole movie like that and having to do
No.
4 different characters?
No, I mean this movie really does give me more of a respect for Michael Keaton, like as an actor.
Yeah.
If anyone
does.
if anyone out there ever badmouths Michael Keaton, I'm telling them to watch this movie.
This one?
Yeah, this one. Yeah.
Okay. What?
For
Okay,
his
so is
acting
that
ability.
For his
Yeah,
acting
is-
ability. 'Cause
is
you
that
get
really
all,
it? So-
all the levels.
so you're gonna
Yeah.
point at so if we're all to point at one Michael Keaton movie to say someone out there's a Michael Keaton hater, they're like I hated him as Batman. I never watched a single thing after Batman. This is what you point him to.
To show his range, yes.
Yes.
I'm sure there are people out there saying, "Oh, he's just Beetlejuice and he's Batman. Like he doesn't really do anything else other than that." He does a lot. He does comedy really well.
He does. I was surprised at how physical his comedy was in this. I'm just not sure this is the movie for me.
To be fair, most of his comedy in this is just him
Yelling
Like, just
at
doing-
each
no, just-
at
just-
himself.
like making eye looks. Like he does double takes. Like, oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know what movie I would point to. I think it wouldn't be this one though.
When it comes, well, I mean, when it comes to his acting abilities, so like if somebody was like, yeah, he's just a superhero actor, whatever, he's a goofball. Like, no, he's an actual actor. He's actually really decent. Like, no, he's not. Look, go watch Multiplicity. You'll see what I'm talking about. He's a good actor. I would not point somebody to, if somebody liked Michael Keaton and hadn't seen this, I'd point him to it. If somebody
Yeah.
wasn't convinced that he was a good actor, I'd point him to this. Not really any other reason.
I would do The Founder. I think I would do if I think that if
I haven't
somebody
seen The
yeah.
Founder.
Okay.
so-
I
And
think
I'm
that
not
if
big on
somebody liked
McDonald's.
him, but that's it. It doesn't make you like McDonald's more. It makes you like it less. I promise.
Yeah, my emotions for McDonald's don't really need any swaying one way or the other because it would just make me more frustrated.
I don't have anything bad to say about McDonald's, and if they want to sponsor this podcast, they can reach
That'd
out
be
to us.
that's just
They
the
can
best.
email us at youhavetoWatchThisPodcast@gmail.com.
Look at that plug.
I mean, I eat McDonald's. I don't not eat there. It's just I don't like the whole franchise setup. That's all. So I mean, I feel the same way about Taco Bell, but I love Taco Bell.
Just
I
backing
love-
up that hatred so we can get the plug. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Any final thoughts on Multiplicity?
My life is in shambles. I need pie.
Was there a joke a line that made you guys laugh hysterically?
Hysterically, no. I giggled at a few things, and I really forget what they were now.
My wife lost it at the line when Michael Keaton comes back from the Laker game and crawls in the bed and there's a clone there. And the clone just
That's
jumps
good.
up. He's like, I had a bad dream. Oh, what was it about? I don't know. I was sleeping.
So there are two short things. One, the cloning session, the montage of like him getting cloned and everything. That sounded a lot like the music from the montage from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
I haven't seen that movie in years. I forget.
Okay, so there's that. Plus, when I felt this was a good like culture nod and a good way to ground the movie for some people. When he was at the Pee Wee football game for his son, I doubt that. I really doubt that you guys would have caught this, so it's whatever.
Is it his
for
hat?
somebody like me,
I saw the hat. I saw the hat.
Yeah.
No, it's not the hat. So for somebody like me, this is excellent. The uniforms the kids were wearing were direct copies of USC and UL. Now I'm like, oh, look, I'm the sports person. I know what I'm talking about, and I can't name the initials of the freaking college.
UCLA?
UCLA and USC.
Oh.
Those uniforms that those kids were wearing were direct copies of those two football programs, and they are huge rivals in California.
That makes sense. That's funny.
So I really like that nod because you'll get that in different regions of the country. Pee Wee football clothes, uniforms, either look like pro teams or the local college teams. And the fact that they were dressed like that was really cool. And I caught that right away. I'm like, cool. This is, it was one of those things to make it feel more real. Him wearing the Penn State hat, living where they were living, was just kind of like, I guess somebody on the crew was a Penn State fan. Like, that's all I thought. Like,
Michael Keaton's from Pennsylvania, so it makes, I'm pretty
that
sure it's
explains
just,
it.
that's
There we
just
go.
his hat. And
There
it's
we
not
go.
like, I mean, Ryan, I think we know people who grew up in Pennsylvania and then moved out to California.
Yeah, I know,
So-
I know we do. It was one of those things where I saw the uniforms, like, oh, cool. They're reflecting, those two colleges. This is based in that part of the country. Then I saw him wearing the Penn State hat. I'm like, well, yeah, I guess the character's from Pennsylvania. I guess Michael Keaton's from Pennsylvania. I didn't know that. I didn't know that 10 seconds ago.
Yeah.
So, I didn't know that then.
It's a lot more believable than DJ Tanner wearing a Shippensburg University sweater on Full House.
Did that happen?
That happened.
Those memes were circulating like a while ago.
Totally missed
Devin?
it.
Yeah.
Nope.
Okay.
I totally missed it. Why?
Oh, well, Aunt Becky got her in.
And funny fact, after that like whole meme thing started up amongst all of the Shippensburg University alumni, Shippensburg University stores started reselling that sweater again.
That's fun. Good for them.
Don't
I
roll
would.
your eyes. If you were in charge of, that at
Oh, I do the same thing.
at a college, you would do the same thing.
Oh, I
'Cause,
totally would.
Because, yeah, you'd be rolling a dough. You'd be rolling a dough.
All right. Any other final thoughts on Multiplicity before we wrap this thing up?
Nope.
Surgery drugs are fun. So I know exactly what Michael Keaton was going through when he was putting that giant syringe and like the thing is like count. So reality check.
Yeah.
The giant syringe that was put into the IV, that stuff makes you feel like you're floating. And you giggle, and you have happy thoughts, and it's a lot of fun. I've done it several times because I've had several surgeries. Pre-surgery drugs are fun. Putting that out there. 2, you don't go out that quickly.
No.
Count back from 100, and he goes 100, and he goes, and he like, conked out. You get to like 98, 97, and then you go out, but I don't count. I just take deep breaths because I know that I'm not going to remember falling asleep. So whenever they put like the thing on your face, like it's just oxygen at first, and then they tell you when the gas is coming and when they put the stuff in the IV because it's a combination of both that puts you to sleep.
I like the
And
comedic
so I
timing
just-
of that then, though.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny.
It was funny. I mean, it's a comedy, so of course they're going to exaggerate it, but I just saw that, and I'm like, that's funny, but that's, I just wanted to,
Yeah.
personal experience is always fun to explain.
Oh, yeah.
So
Sometimes.
So things got a little bit messed up over the holidays. Who's next in the rotation?
I think Ryan is, right?
I thought it was me.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's Ryan.
I think it's Ryan.
Yeah.
Ryan, what are you going to
Okay.
have us watch next week?
War Games. Finally doing this.
I can't wait. I'm so excited for War Games.
Have you seen War Games, Devin?
Never.
Me neither. So this is
This
a
is going to be
twofer.
fun.
Sweet. We
This
haven't had
is
one of these in
excellent.
a while.
Good.
All right.
Hey.
Well, to make sure you catch War Games next week, make sure, if you're watching us on YouTube, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for for more episodes and some bonus content coming soon. Surprise.
Oh.
If you're listening to us, you can listen to our podcast on any major podcasting platform. We are on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, Amazon Music, and TuneIn Alexa, and the iHeartRadio app. You can like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram. And yes, I was looking at the screen because I can't remember all of that. It's too early in the morning. Yeah. And so until next time, for You Have to Watch This Podcast, I'm Alan.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Devin.
And we'll see you next week. I like pie.